This is an Ellis Mowers and More small engine repair. Stay connected on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers and More. Comments or questions? Leave them below or email me, ellis@ellismowers.com. Parts used in today's repair are found using the links in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe for more small engine content. On today's repair, we're going to start and hopefully finish this Craftsman. It's not an LT1000. I did not have a hood for it when I got it, but it is a late 90s model, kind of the LT1000 prerequisite. 42-inch cut, 15.5 horsepower, turbo cool Briggs and Stratton. And I got this from a scrapper, the same person that the yard machines came from. So the one that turned out extremely nice in a previous video that y'all saw, that I had to do some working with the opposed twin and just essentially had to put it back together apart from that. Hopefully this one's going to be even easier. Y'all know these Craftsmans are fairly easy to fix most of the time, and he said it was just too nice to scrap, and I agree with him. I bought it in a lot, and we're going to see if we can get it going. The front tires both either need tubes or something along those lines to get them back going. Rear tires are holding air, which is good. I've already cleaned it up. The seat's in pretty good condition. I could find a better hood for it. We'll see how nice this mower ends up going for when we finish it. But I'll show you around it real quick, and then we're going to at least try and start it. He did say that this machine ran, so we'll see if there's any truth to that, and see if we can get a good machine going here. Again, these mowers probably don't run more than $450 around here anymore, but this one's in really nice shape aside from the hood, which we may fix if I decide to take another hood out of the backyard. We'll see. But let's go get a look around it, and we'll get started on whatever it needs repairing. So just the first impressions of it, cosmetically, after I washed it, it's actually pretty nice. We'll look under the hood here, and there's that 15.5 horsepower Briggs turbo cool. Looks to be very nice machine. And I don't know, these Marlboro carbs like to leak on us, so especially since they're getting kind of old. But what I'm gonna do, because I checked the oil already, there's no gas in the oil, so that's a plus. We'll go ahead and check the air filter while we're here. I do see some deck damage. I'm probably gonna have to take this deck off and kind of beat it out some for it to work again. Let's see if we can get this air filter cover off. So the air filter, if we look inside here, we'll have to get rid of the pre-filter. Looks okay, so that's good. The oil is decently full, so that's good as well. And like I said, I don't see any leaks so far, so that's a plus. I'll give you all the model number while we're here. This is going to be a 917-258-524-061897 is the date code. So this is a 97 model year tractor, which is pretty good. I think this battery is too old. The shifter is a 6-speed. Somebody has swapped the shifter with a newer style, but it kind of does the job. I think I have some older style, which we'll swap and throw back on this. Gold letters. Like I said, the back tires are holding a decent amount of air. Just probably need to throw a little ATF in it. The deck damage that I see down here, and that might be what knocked the mower out, is right here. So this deck, like I said, has some damage, but it doesn't have any rust or anything in it, so we probably just have to take the hammer to it and just beat it back out. In terms of deck spindles and pulleys and things along those lines, it seems like the belt's a little bit tighter than it should be, potentially. I'm not fully sure, but that's in the engaged position, and that's in the disengaged position, and it just doesn't seem like it's getting much tension on it, so I probably got to lube some stuff up. So granted, there's no like I said, no leaks in the fuel system. I'm going to throw a jump box to this thing and see if it'll crank up for us. Hopefully it will. That'll be a huge plus. So I got the Power Run P1 Max hooked up to this thing. We're going to, sometimes it'll show you that you can just start it, but we're going to have to give this one a boost. See if this thing will kick over for us. So let's give it a try here. Oh, the choke's stuck. Oh, the choke's stuck. Darn. Gotta unstick the choke real quick. Give me just a second. Unfortunately, this carburetor is a leaker, but I have a Hipa carb kit here, and that's just easy just to swap them carbs out and call it a day with these. Either way, I'm going to see if I can get it to start, and it'll take some cranking over, but I may just have to pull it in the garage and swap the carb out and see what they do. These Marlboro carbs are amazing, but after a while, because this thing's on 25 years old, the needle and the seats start to leak, and for the price that I can get aftermarket carb, it just makes more sense to swap them things out as opposed to trying battling a leaking needle and seat for the new owner. So all I've done, 2 3/8 to remove the fuel tank, and then I removed the fuel line because we're going to replace that. Now we're going to get into replacing the actual carburetor here. Really easy on these. 7/16. You just have to get in there to pull the 7/16 out. Sometimes you got to take, this one is a 5/16. You got to take off here. And then what we can do is just kind of move that out of the way. Pull this 7/16. And this one here, we're going to have probably a little bit of leakage. Really the weak points of these Marlboros are this plastic elbow, and also the they just leak over time. They haven't made them for about 20 years now for these Briggs singles because of emissions regulations. So the 5/16, there's one up top here as well that you have to take off, and then this should come off now. And there's a breather tube you got to take off as well on top. There we are. All things considered, this machine's actually in really good condition. Oh, there's just a ton of varnish and buildup and stuff on this carburetor too, so given the age of it, it's not really worth trying to save it, since I can just replace it. A lot of times the bowls get eaten out too and things along those lines, and just for the new owners, this will be the best course of action. So 5/16 inch deep well gets that off. We're going to unplug the anti-backfire. Okay. And it shouldn't have much. It should just kind of come off now. It is latched on there though, that's for sure. It is full of gas. Whew. Okay, so then we just got to take the linkages out. I go with the choke first a lot of times and just slide it out like so. And then the next order of business is pulling out the main throttle linkage and then the little spring. We're going to clean that portion up right there. We should have all the gaskets that we need in this new Hipa carb kit. It was leaking a ton of gas down in there. It'll take us a second to get it all cleared out as well. Wow. Move this out of the way. And we will put the Hipa carb kit in next. These are really nice to have because these carb kits, they come with a plug. They come with a fuel filter. Most of them come with an air filter as well. Should be able to find one that has your air filter, your correct air filter on it. I think this one actually came with like a cartridge type air filter that was a little bit newer than this style, like from the 03 to 2010 or so. And there's your carb. This one's got an elbow on it. What else comes with this? So it comes with this mounting gasket for the intake tube there, as well as a couple of fuel line clamps. So it's really just as easy as putting this carburetor on the machine. And we start with the throttle linkage. And let's see what we've got to do here. Try not to get it all bound up when it comes to the spring. So the spring is going to go on like there we go. Spring will go on in the little hole right there. Now what I'll do is I'll get the the choke. I'll forget the choke. I feel like I forget the choke a lot. So the choke goes on the underside and slides into that little slot right there. Now I can get the gaskets and go ahead and mount this back. Okay. Put the gasket in right there. Tighten it down. Tighten it down on this side as well. Just make sure you get the gasket in the hole right there. And then we're going to get our deep well 5/16 back. There we are. So that's all mounted. The choke and everything should be working properly. Now one thing, I have to adjust the throttle linkage just a little bit. One thing I do want to mention is that with these air cleaners that sit on top of the carburetor, like the one we've got here, a lot of times I have to, these aftermarket carbs, I have to clip that piece right there off, otherwise it'll actually jam up against the air cleaner. So just remember that whenever you are doing things. We can go ahead and put this air cleaner back on now as well. We'll put the breather tube on first. That can sometimes get a little difficult. There we are. And then we'll, actually we may need to do the, no, we've got it here. Slide this back into place onto the studs, and then it's just a matter of putting all of our nuts back on. I love how easy these are to change. Can work on Briggs and Stratton single cylinders all day. Alright, so we'll get that threaded, start threaded in there as well. Well, I thought we did, but there we are. Got our 7/16 back. And make sure the choke is working properly. And it is, so that's good. Don't forget to plug in your anti-backfire solenoid once again. And last but not least, when it comes to the carb install, we'll put this 5/16 back into its place as well. There you are. And that's everything when it comes to installing the carb on one of these. I am going to go ahead and change the fuel line out. We'll go ahead and put this fuel line on with the clamps that are provided. We'll put the fuel filter on it and then connect a line from the fuel filter through this little hole up to the fuel tank. So the kit doesn't provide you enough fuel line to do that entire thing. I'll link some fuel line in the description below if you need some, as well as a hyperlink to this particular carburetor, air filter, and all that good stuff when it comes to maintenance, when it comes to these Briggs singles. So I'm going to clamp that on. We'll clamp the fuel filter on and then cut this video for now. Oops, we need to put the clip on first, don't we? Clip goes on, and then we'll clip this fuel filter in. Everything will come in right there before we take it up through the hole there for the gas tank. Alright, I've put a battery in it. We have finished up the install with the fuel line and the fuel tank, and so I think we're going to just see if this thing will start now. Oil should still be okay. Didn't get too much gas in it, so it's going to take a second because it's still got a bunch of gas in there. This. Pull this plug out, put this new Hipa plug in. Just going to remove the plug and purge out all this old junk and stuff that's in it. We'll make sure that we have good spark as well. Yeah, just a ton of gas in there. So let me just. Okay. We'll put this new plug in too, because it probably fouled that old plug. Hipa's been very generous to me, so I have plenty of these to go around. And it could be a spark issue. We'll find out here in just a second. It's cranking over nice and hard. One of the other things that it could possibly be is this valve cover is bashed in a little bit. It could be that the valves aren't opening and closing all the way. Let's see. Do this. Next order of business, we're going to check the spark. Or did I put the lead? Did I not put the lead back on? I did. So let's check spark. And then we're going to go into the, I'm going to push that valve cover out because I think that may be part of the issue as well. Let's just make sure we have spark. Don't. That's our problem. We don't have a lick of spark. Now, I don't know if it's because somebody has done some doctoring to these safety switches. Could be a lot of things, guys. I don't think it's a bad ignition coil. Because what I also see is that somebody has done something with this safety switch right here. And y'all know that y'all just can't connect these wires and have everything work. So somebody did a heck of a job though. So I'm gonna pull this out real quick here. Let's just see what we've got going on. Now we've got water in here is what we've got. Yeah, so somebody has been doctoring these things up right here. That's not good. So to try and bypass some switches, man, that's some crazy stuff right there, ain't it? So you can't just do that because one of them is the kill wire and the other one's like the ground wire when it comes to that. Now, I've got to find the brake safety on this. It's tucked underneath all of this mess here somewhere. Can't remember exactly where it goes. What I'm just going to simply do is just hook this switch back up. And I think that that's going to cure our spark issue as long as that safety switch is good. If not, I got some safety switches here. We'll just swap it out. Alright, so I found a safety switch. Most of these switches are usually generic. Some of them may be like when you push in, it turns things off instead of turning the spark on. I don't know if you can see it very well, but we're going to at least just turn it over here. And I don't know if you can see that there's now spark emitting from the spark plug. So that's good. What I'm just going to do here now is mount it. Let's see if I can show it to y'all. So all it does is mounts. Can't never find a good place to put this. There it is. So it just literally just mounts right there, kind of underneath the starter solenoid. And I just have to release the park brake, and I should just be able to slide it. I have to slide it in from the bottom. So I'll slide it in. Let me see if I can get over here so that y'all can kind of see what I'm doing. I'm going to slide it in from the bottom of here. And we should have working safety switches now. So let's see. A little bit of a tight space to get into, but can grab it and you pull it up. You just grab it from the bottom here, find the way that it will slide into place, and you should be in business. It takes a little bit of finesse, but that's what you're going to do. Just take it from the bottom, slide it up in there, latch it into place with those clips, and you're done. So what I am going to do, I'm still having trouble getting that safety switch slid up into that slot. I can do it from the top side, but that's not the way that it's supposed to go. So what I'm going to do, because I need to anyways, is take the deck off. I want to show you really quickly. I've shown it a lot of times how to take the deck off. First off, with the blades disengaged, you just want to take your belt off of the front pulley there. Sorry, I'm struggling with my words. You have two mounts in the front that you can see right here that are just hooked on by clips to those two mounts that you can see in the camera right there. On the side here, you have, on both sides, you have a clip holding your deck hanger on right here. And then underneath here, there's a clip for the parking brake, but you'll also see a clip that holds on the blade engage lever here, because this is the old school mechanical type blade engage with a bunch of linkages. So you take that off and slide that down to the side, and then on the left side over here, and one thing I did notice, and I've got to replace on this machine, is that the mounting bracket for the left side actually is broken over here. So that's not good. Luckily I should have plenty of spares for that. And that clips on right there. And then you have one more clip in the back right here. And so now this deck should slide out. We needed to do this anyway because I have to kind of work on the deck a little bit, kind of beat it out, because it's really bent up in the front. So let's see if I can get it off. I'm probably going to have to jack the front of this machine up, so let me do that. Okay, let's see. So we should be able to slide it out now, hopefully. There we are. And what this is going to do is, spindle that's kind of frozen here too, is it's just going to give us better access to everything while we do this. So we'll slide this out. Again, none of this has been used in a while from what I can tell. But the deck damage on the front, which hopefully I can show y'all, is pretty substantial, especially right there. So I just need to get a hammer, and I think I just need to beat all that stuff back out, and I think we'll be okay. Rest of the deck looks in pretty decent shape. I actually don't know what the blades look like. Blades should be salvageable unless one of them's severely bent, so that's another good thing. These spindles should free up after they get a little bit of run time, and they can throw some grease down in the shafts as well. So underneath here, I'll put some jack stands, and I'm just going to see if I can push that safety switch into that hole right there. And hopefully I'll be able to do that now that I have the deck off of it. One other thing I may have to take off, and I'll let you know if I do, is the park brake rod, which is that cotter pin right there. So if I have to take that off, I'll let you know. But we'll get that switch up in there. That way we can at least try and start this machine in a much safer manner than what they had before. Because what they had before, they had bridged the gap between these clips, and sure, that'll allow the machine to start to turn over, but it also prevents the machine from sparking. Because I can't remember exactly which wire off the top of my head, but one of these sets of wires actually grounds this, the starter solenoid, and the other one allows the spark to the magneto. I think the black wire allows the spark. So in theory, I think you would have to keep the close the black wire, but then keep the white wire open or something along those lines. I'm not completely sure off the top of my head. But either way, you want a safety switch, and we're going to put that safety switch on here now. So I've got the safety switch in. Come down here with me. I'll show you what I had to do in order to do this. A little bit more difficult than I thought, mostly because you have to remove a rod in order to get a good angle to put this in. So this particular park brake rod right here, the one that goes up through the dash, I took some of these pry bars and just pried it off, because it's not clipped on anything, it's just kind of wedged in place. And then that allows me access to get that safety switch in place. Otherwise, you're going to be battling this bar and you're not going to be able to get it in. So it is now in. The other thing you have to do is take this brake rod off as well. So the brake rod comes off, and the brake rod was on. Just pardon the camera while I do this. Brake rod, actually, I think should be on this way. No, it's not. It's supposed to be on this way. Woo! There we go. Sorry, y'all. Man. And the clip is going to be on as well, right through here. It's held on with the clip, and we'll be in business. So that's what you got to do. You got to take this brake rod off, as well as, well, I'll put that on properly in a second when I have two hands. You have to take the brake rod off that goes between the transmission and this little linkage, and then you have to take the rod that controls this off, and then you just slide the safety switch in there. So now we know that spark is happening with that safety switch. Let's see if we can get this thing to run now. All right, now that we've got everything hooked up properly, let's see if this will work for us. I'm wondering if the valves are not opening and closing because of this dented valve cover. That's where my money's on, because I may have a bent push rod too, who knows. Because that valve cover's dented in pretty good. And y'all know if you do Honda stuff, you know sometimes that those valve covers will get dented in and they won't run, because I'll double check the spark one more time, but I know I'm getting gas. And I know I'm getting spark. Ugh. Let's do this one more time just to make sure that I'm getting spark. Well, let's see. It should just clip right on there. There we go. And spark. Yeah, so we're getting gas and we're getting spark, which leads me to believe that is this valve cover. So that's not on the right way either. It should be coming through there. So I think somebody tried to monkey around with this trying to get it to go, but it didn't want to go because of this. 4 3/8 is going to get this valve cover off, and we're going to see what's inside next. Alright, let's take a look inside. I have raised up the front of the machine because a lot of times it'll help prevent the oil from leaking out a lot. So, like I said, I think this valve cover was dented in, and I don't know how much room you need to have when it comes to this. Well, there's my problem right there. I have a bent push rod. I do have a bent push rod. There's my problem. Bent intake push rod. So that's most likely from this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take this over to the vise, clamp it down, ball peen hammer, knock it out, show you all the result. I'm going to grab another intake valve there, and we'll just go to town, put this back on, and hopefully that's all it's going to be when it comes to getting this engine back going. A lot more work than I thought, though, that's for sure. Well, there we are. We are going to put the push rod back in. I have loosened up this valve here, and we are going to put that valve back on as well. Okay. I wonder if somebody tried to adjust the valves on this thing with the push rod being like it was. We'll put this on jack stands for a minute so that I can get this out of the way so that I can freely turn the engine. Make sure that the intake and the exhaust are where they need to be. Let me do this real quick as well, because we need to. Something's not right here. That valve is way in there. I don't have it on the valve seat, that's why. See if I can get it in the valve seat, guys. It's just a matter of looking down in there and getting it right. And you'll feel it go back when you do, just like that. All right, now we're in better shape. All right. What I'll do while I'm in here is get my feeler gauges. We're going to turn it around just a little bit, just to make sure that everything is where it needs to be. We're a little loose there still. Oh, by the way, I knocked out this valve cover, so it's a lot better now. You can see it's not dented in. I'm sure that's what happened to this thing, is it got dented in and bent that rod. So now what we're going to do is get the feeler gauges out. We need to be about 5 thousandths. So that's our goal. We're way over right now. Just make sure that maybe your opposite valve is being pushed in or being opened. That way you kind of know that that's where you want to be. We're getting closer. Just a tinge more, I think, will get us where we need to be. Doesn't take much. Doesn't take much at all, guys. We're pretty close. Let me get the 4 thousandths out and see. Or the 3 thousandths. But maybe a little bit too tight now. It's just a matter of trial and error. A little bit at a time, a little bit at a time. That's pretty close. 4 thousandths fits in perfect, so that's between 4 and 5 thousandths. Awesome. That's the intake valve. We're going to do the exhaust valve. I'm going to put the cover back on it, and hopefully this thing starts now. So I thought we had it, but there's always a reason why push rods bend. And we have done the same thing to the second one. That's okay, I've got plenty of them here. But I've figured out that this valve was just stuck for some reason. This intake valve, I don't know exactly why. What I'm going to do though is put a metal push rod in here, because it'll work just the same. And hopefully whatever has happened does not happen again with that push rod. All I did here was I took the little cap off, boom, and then took a little hammer and just kind of tapped it like that, and that knocked it loose, and it's pushing in now. It doesn't seem, that seems like that's where the hang up was, so that's good that that's not hung up anymore, hopefully. So I'm going to put a metal push rod in it, do exactly the same process that I just showed y'all. Turn it around a few times by hand to make sure that it's not going to stick, and then we'll give this thing a shot. Alright, valve cover is pushed out, everything's back on. This new carb might be leaking too, I don't know. Sometimes even the Hipa carbs can be hit and miss sometimes. Here's what I'm going to do. I know the valve was moving back and forth. I think I may have shown you all that on camera. I'm not sure. So let's see if it'll start. get the deck out, see if I can knock that out some and get everything free on it. So that's going to be the end of part 1 of this Craftsman, and wanted to make this a full video, a full restoration video just in this part, but it took a little bit longer than I thought in order to get the engine running, but we've got it running. So in part 2, what we'll do is we will work on the deck, and we will also fix all the other issues that are not running related that this machine has, which it ends up having quite a few small issues, I guess, in my book. It involves swapping the front end and changing a deck spindle and things along those lines, which you'll see kind of an overview in part 2. Thanks again for watching part 1. A link to the Hipa carburetor is down below if you want to purchase one for your Briggs & Stratton single cylinder. And I tell you what, I'm looking at it now. I don't want to tease it or give it away, but the result of this machine is pretty striking. So tune in for part 2 coming up here in a couple of days on the channel. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.